The stars stopped moving outside the windows of the ship Meridian. Captain Jake Morrison felt his stomach settle as the engines powered down. They had done it. After 6 months of traveling through space faster than light, they had reached their destination. "We're here," said Dr. Lisa Grant from her seat at the science station. Her voice was quiet with wonder. "Kepler 442b, the first planet humans have ever visited outside our solar system." Jake looked out at the blue and green world spinning slowly below them. It looked almost like Earth, but the continents were different shapes. 3 moons hung in the black sky around it. "Any signs of life?" Jake asked. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Numbers and pictures filled her screen. "The atmosphere has oxygen and nitrogen, just like home. I'm seeing plant life across most of the land masses," and she stopped and stared at her screen. "Captain, you need to see this." Jake moved to stand behind her chair. On her screen was a picture of the planet's surface taken by their cameras. What he saw made his heart beat faster. "Is that a city?" he asked. "It's not just a city, sir, it's huge. The buildings are at least 50 stories tall, and they're made of materials I've never seen before. They're giving off their own light." Commander Alex Torres, their military officer, came over to look. "How big is the population down there?" "I can't tell exactly, but based on the size of the city, millions, maybe tens of millions." Sam Phillips, their chief engineer, whistled from his station. "Those aren't just buildings, people. I'm picking up energy readings that are off the charts. Whatever technology they're using down there, it's way ahead of anything we have." Jake felt a mix of excitement and fear. They had come here hoping to find life, but they had expected maybe some plants or simple animals. They had not expected to find an advanced civilization. "Any radio signals?" Jake asked. "Actually, yes," said Lisa. "I've been monitoring several frequencies. The signals are complex, definitely artificial. It's some kind of language, but nothing like any human language." "They know we're here," said Alex, pointing to his screen. "I'm detecting scanning beams coming from the surface. They're looking at us just like we're looking at them." Jake made his decision. "Lisa, can you send a basic mathematical signal? Something that shows we're intelligent?" "Already working on it, sir. I'm transmitting prime numbers in sequence." They waited. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Then Lisa's equipment beeped. "Captain, we're getting a response. They're sending back the next prime numbers in the sequence, and there's something else." She looked up at him with wide eyes. "They're sending coordinates. Landing coordinates." "They want us to come down?" asked Sam. "Looks like it. The coordinates point to a flat area just outside their city." Alex stepped forward. "Sir, I don't think this is safe. We know nothing about these beings. They could be hostile, or they could be friendly," said Jake. "Either way, we came here to make contact. That's exactly what they're offering us." Jake looked around at his crew. These 4 people had volunteered for a mission that would take them farther from Earth than any human had ever gone. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. "We go down," he decided. "But we go carefully. Alex, you and I will take the shuttle. Lisa and Sam, you stay here and monitor everything. If something goes wrong, you get back to Earth and warn everyone." 2 hours later, Jake and Alex sat in their shuttle as it dropped through the planet's atmosphere. The alien city grew larger in their window as they descended. The buildings were even more impressive up close. They seemed to be made of a white material that glowed softly. Strange vehicles moved between the buildings, floating without making any sound. "Landing area is just ahead," said Alex, piloting the shuttle. "And Captain, we've got company." Jake looked out and saw them. 3 figures stood at the edge of the landing area. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, and thin. Their skin looked pale blue in the light of the planet's sun. But what struck Jake most were their eyes. They were huge, much larger than human eyes, and they seemed to have many surfaces like jewels. The shuttle touched down with a soft bump. Jake and Alex put on their helmets and checked their air supplies. They had no idea if the planet's air was safe to breathe. "Ready?" Jake asked. "As ready as anyone can be for meeting aliens," Alex replied. They opened the shuttle door and stepped out. The gravity felt almost like Earth's. The air outside their helmets looked clear and clean. The three aliens walked toward them slowly. They moved with grace like dancers. As they got closer, Jake could see they were wearing clothes made of the same glowing material as their buildings. The alien in the center stopped about 10 feet away. It raised one long arm in what might have been a greeting. Then it spoke. The words were musical, like singing, but Jake couldn't understand them. The alien seemed to realize this and touched a device on its chest. When it spoke again, the words came out in English. "Welcome, travelers from the distant star. I am Ambassador Kethra of the Veltar people. We have been watching your approach with great interest." Jake felt a moment of amazement. They had translation technology that could work this quickly. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human race," he said, looking directly into the alien's large eyes. "We come in peace, hoping to learn about your people and share knowledge." The moment Jake made eye contact, all three aliens stepped backward. Their bodies became rigid, and the two flanking the ambassador made sounds like hissing. "Ambassador." Kethra held up a hand to calm the others, but Jake could see it was shaking. "Forgive us," the ambassador said, its voice now strained. "We were not prepared for such directness. Most species we encounter do not engage in ocular contact." Jake realized he had made some kind of mistake, but he wasn't sure what. "I'm sorry if I offended you. In human culture, looking someone in the eyes when we talk shows respect and honesty." "Yes," said Kethra slowly. "We are beginning to understand this about your species. You are unique." Ambassador Kethra led Jake and Alex away from the landing area toward a large building that looked like a crystal tower. The other two aliens followed at a distance, still looking nervous. "Your ship in orbit," Kethra said as they walked. "How many of your kind are aboard?" "4 total," Jake answered. 2 stayed on the ship to monitor our safety." "Good. Safety is important when meeting new species." Kethra paused at the entrance to the building. "Captain Morrison, I must ask you something difficult. Can you avoid looking directly at others while you are here? For many species, it causes great fear." Jake felt confused. "I can try, but it will be difficult. Looking away while talking feels rude to humans. I understand your species is different." They entered the building and Jake's breath caught in his throat. The inside was vast with a ceiling that seemed to go up forever. Floating platforms carried beings of all shapes and sizes between different levels. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking plants, and some were so strange Jake couldn't even describe them. "This is a transport station," Kethra explained. "It will take us to the orbital station where you will meet the Galactic Collective." "How many species are part of this collective?" Alex asked. 47 different worlds, 63 different species, all living in peace for over 3,000 of your years. They stepped onto a floating platform that began to rise smoothly upward. As they passed other platforms, Jake noticed something strange. Every alien they saw turned their eyes away when he looked at them. Some even covered their faces with their hands or clothing. "Why does everyone look away?" Jake asked. "Because you look at them," Kethra said simply. "Direct eye contact is a sign of aggression in most species. Predators stare at their prey before attacking. Prey animals stare when they are about to fight for their lives. Only a few species use eye contact, and when they do, it means danger." The platform reached the top of the building, and they stepped onto a small spacecraft. Through its windows, Jake could see a massive structure in space above the planet. It was bigger than any space station humans had ever imagined, with sections for different environments and atmospheres. "The collective station," Kethra said with pride. "Home to representatives from all member species." The journey to the station took 30 minutes. During the flight, Kethra explained more about the collective. Each species contributed their knowledge and resources. Wars were forbidden. Disputes were solved through discussion and compromise. "It sounds perfect," Jake said. "It works because we all follow the same basic rules. We respect each other's space. We do not threaten. We do not stare." When they docked at the station, Jake was amazed by its size. The corridors were wide enough for the largest aliens, with different gravity, sections and atmosphere zones. Signs were written in dozens of different languages and symbol systems. Dr. Nina Walsh and Lieutenant Ben Carter were waiting for them at the docking bay. They had been brought up from the planet while Jake and Alex were traveling to the station. "Jake, you have to see this place," Nina said excitedly. "I've been talking with the cultural officer here. Every species has evolved some form of eye contact avoidance. It's universal, not universal anymore," said Kethra quietly. They were taken to a large meeting room where representatives from several species waited. Jake tried to remember Kethra's warning, but it was hard to talk to someone without looking at them. First representative looked like a tall bird with 4 arms and bright red feathers. When Jake accidentally glanced at its face, it immediately backed against the wall and made harsh, squawking sounds. "I'm sorry," Jake said quickly, looking at the floor. "The Kavik are a prey species," Kethra explained. "Direct eye contact triggers their flight response." The next representative was shorter and covered in what looked like gray fur. It spoke in a high, squeaky voice through a translator. "Human captain makes eyes meeting. Is challenge behavior. French people no fight. Is peace wanting." "He's not challenging you," Nina explained. "Humans use eye contact to show respect and interest." "Is strange thinking," the French replied. "Eyes meeting is for death making." The meeting continued with similar problems. Each species had the same reaction to human eye contact. Some became afraid, others became angry, and a few simply refused to stay in the same room. Ben had been quiet during most of the meeting, but when they took a break, he made a mistake. A large, dark-skinned alien with sharp teeth and claws entered the room. Ben, following his military training, looked directly at the newcomer to assess if it was a threat. The alien roared and dropped into a fighting position. Its claws extended, and its teeth were bared. Other aliens in the room scattered, some screaming in their own languages. "No fight," Kethra shouted, stepping between Ben and the angry alien. "Misunderstanding. Cultural difference." The large alien, breathing heavily, spoke in a deep growling voice. "Human stares like hunter, shows no fear, is challenged to Razorkin dominance." "Ben wasn't challenging you," Jake said, carefully not looking at the alien. "He was just trying to see who entered the room." "Humans look at all beings?" the Razorkin asked. "Yes, it's how we communicate." The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then it laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Humans are either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both," Jake admitted. After the incident with the Razorkin, the meeting ended early. Kethra walked with the humans back to their guest quarters. "This is more difficult than we expected," Kethra said. "Your behavior is natural for you, but it frightens or angers most species here." "What do you suggest?" Nina asked. "You must learn to avoid eye contact if you want to be part of the collective. It is the only way." In their quarters that night, the 4 humans discussed their situation. "We can't change how we communicate," Nina said. "Eye contact is built into human psychology. It's how we show trust, empathy, and understanding. But if we don't adapt, we'll never be accepted here," Alex pointed out. "Maybe that's not our problem," Ben said. "Maybe their fear is their problem." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Think about it. We've met dozens of species today. All of them are afraid to look at each other. How can you really trust someone you won't look at? How can you understand them?" Jake thought about this. In all his years leading people, his ability to read faces and make eye contact had been his greatest tool for building trust and solving problems. "You might be right," Jake said. "But the question is, what do we do about it?" Outside their quarters, the massive space station continued its quiet orbit around the alien world, home to dozens of species who had learned to live together by looking away from each other. None of them knew that the arrival of humanity was about to change everything. The next morning, Jake woke to find a message waiting outside their quarters. It was written in English on a piece of metal that glowed softly. "Captain Morrison, I am War Chief Thakmor of the Razorkin. I request private meeting. Come alone. To Battle Hall Level 7. Bring no weapons, show no fear." Alex read the message over Jake's shoulder. "You're not going alone to meet that thing." "I have to," Jake said. "Yesterday we almost caused a diplomatic incident. Maybe this is a chance to fix it. Or maybe it's a chance for you to get killed, Ben said. Dr. Nina Walsh looked up from her research tablet. I've been studying the files Kethra gave us about different species. The Razorkin are apex predators from a world with no other intelligent life. They had to learn to control their hunting instincts to join the collective. That doesn't make me feel better about this meeting, Alex said. Jake found level 7 after asking directions from a helpful plant-like alien who spoke through musical tones. The battle hall was a large, dark room with weapons from dozens of worlds displayed. On the walls, War Chief Thakmor stood in the center, even larger than he had seemed the day before. The Razorkin was nearly 8 feet tall, with black skin covered in natural armor plates. His arms were thick with muscle, and his claws looked sharp enough to cut through metal. When Jake entered, Thakmor turned to face him. You came alone. Good. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. You asked me to come. Here I am. Yes. Here you are. And you look at me. Jake realized he was staring directly into Thakmor's yellow eyes. Every instinct told him to keep eye contact to show he wasn't afraid. Should I look away? Jake asked. No. That is why I wanted to meet you. Thakmor moved closer, and Jake forced himself to stay still. For 3,000 years, my people have lived among the collective. We learned to look down, to turn away, to hide our true nature. We became small. You don't look small to me. Thakmor laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. You see, truly human. We are not small, but we act small. We pretend to be gentle plant eaters who mean no harm. The other species are comfortable with us only because we never let them see what we really are. What are you really? Hunters. Warriors, the strongest species in the collective. But strength means nothing if you cannot use it. Thakmor stopped directly in front of Jake. Yesterday your soldier looked at me as an equal. Not with fear, not with submission, but as one warrior studying another. Ben was just being careful. He didn't mean to challenge you. I know. That is what makes it interesting. Thakmor walked around Jake slowly like a predator circling prey. Your species does something no other species does. You look at predators without fear and at prey without hunger. Why? Jake thought about the question. Because we're both, I guess. Humans are predators. We hunt and fight when we need to, but we're also prey. There were always things on Earth that could kill us. We learned to cooperate with each other to survive. Cooperation. Thakmor said the word like he was tasting it. Yes, I have studied your species since yesterday. You hunt in groups, you share food, you protect your weak. Most interesting of all, you look at each other to share thoughts and feelings. That's just normal for us. Normal for you. Impossible. For us. Thakmor stopped in front of Jake again. A Razorkin who looks another in the eyes is declaring a fight to the death. We cannot help it. It is built into our brains from millions of years of evolution. But you're looking at me now? Yes. Because you are not Razorkin. And because... Thakmor paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Because you do not look at me like prey or predator. You look at me like an equal. Kyle Mason, the human evolutionary biologist, arrived at the station that afternoon with Captain Helen Brooks on a supply ship from Earth. Jake brought them to meet Thakmor, who had requested to speak with a human scientist. Fascinating, Kyle said after Thakmor explained Razorkin biology. Your species evolved perfect predator instincts, but that same evolution made cooperation nearly impossible. Correct. Razorkin can work together, but we cannot truly trust. We cannot share deep thoughts or feelings. We are always ready for betrayal. And other species? Each has similar problems. The Kavik are always ready to run. The French always expect to be eaten. The Veltar see everything as a potential threat. Fear shapes all behavior in the collective. Kyle made notes on his tablet. But humans evolved differently. We developed eye contact as a bonding mechanism, not a threat display. It's how we build trust and share complex emotions. Yes, Thakmor said. This is why you are dangerous. Dangerous? Helen asked. Not dangerous to fight, dangerous to the order of things. The collective works because we all agree to hide our true nature. Humans cannot hide. You are what you are, openly. Jake began to understand. You think our honesty threatens the system? I think your honesty might save the system. Thakmore's yellow eyes met Jake's directly. The collective has not grown or changed in 1,000 years. We maintain peace, but we do not progress. We do not truly cooperate. We simply avoid conflict. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that maybe it is time for change. Yesterday, when your soldier looked at me without fear, I felt something I had not felt in decades. Respect. Not the careful politeness we show each other in the collective, but real respect between equals. Captain Brooks leaned forward. What would change mean for your people? It would mean risk. Great risk. If Razor can begin to make eye contact with other species, some will see it as aggression. There could be panic, even violence. Then why take the risk? Jake asked. Thakmore was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than Jake had ever heard it. Because I am tired of pretending to be weak. Because my people are warriors who have forgotten how to be proud. Because he looked directly at each human in turn. Because you show us there is another way to be strong. What other way? Strength with trust, power with cooperation, the ability to look at any being in the galaxy and see not prey, not predator, not threat, but potential ally. Jake felt the weight of what Thakmore was suggesting. You want to change how the entire collective works. I want to learn from humans, and I want other species to learn as well. Thakmore stood to his full height. The question is, are you willing to teach us? Outside the battle hall, word was already spreading through the station that the war chief of the Razorkin had spent hours in private conversation with the humans. Some species were curious, others were worried, and a few were becoming very afraid of what changes might be coming to their carefully ordered world. Word traveled fast through the collective station. Within 2 days, everyone knew that War Chief Thakmore had been seen making eye contact with humans in the common areas. Some aliens were curious enough to watch from a safe distance. Others avoided the sections where humans were known to be. Dr. Chris Taylor arrived on the 3rd day with a team of human scientists. He was a specialist in how brains work, and Jake hoped he could help explain why humans were different. It's fascinating, Chris said after examining brain scans from several species. Every alien we've tested has the same basic response to direct eye contact. Their fear centers activate immediately. Heart rate increases, stress hormones flood their system. It's pure survival instinct. What about humans? Nina asked. Completely opposite. When humans make eye contact, our brains release chemicals that make us feel good. We activate mirror neurons that help us understand emotions. Our empathy centers light up like fireworks. They were meeting in a conference room with Ambassador Kethra and 3 other alien representatives. Jake noticed that even friendly species like the Veltar still avoided looking directly at the humans. This explains much, Kethra said thoughtfully. We wondered why humans seemed to understand our emotions so quickly, even through translation devices. Eye contact is how we read each other, Jake explained. When I look at someone, I can tell if they're happy, sad, angry, or afraid. It helps me know how to respond. One of the other aliens, a tall being covered in silver scales, spoke up. This sounds like mind reading. Very dangerous. Not mind reading, Chris corrected. Emotion reading. We see facial expressions, body, language, tiny movements that show how someone feels. All species do this to some degree, but humans have developed it much further because we use eye contact. Show us, said the scaled alien suddenly. What? Show us this emotion reading. I will think of something, and you tell me what I am feeling. Jake looked directly at the alien's large, dark eyes. At first, the alien trembled with obvious fear, but then something interesting happened. The alien's posture changed slightly, its head tilted to one side. You're curious, Jake said. Scared, but also very curious about whether this will work. The alien stepped backward in surprise. Correct. How did you know? Your body language changed when your curiosity became stronger than your fear. Humans learn to read these signs from childhood. Incredible, Kethro whispered. Over the next few days, more aliens began asking for demonstrations. Most were too afraid to make direct eye contact, but they watched from across rooms as humans interacted with each other and with brave volunteers. The breakthrough came when Elder Zephlin requested a private meeting. Zephlin was the oldest, member of the Veltar Council and one of the most respected beings in the collective. Jake found the Elder in a quiet garden area of the station. Zephlin was ancient even by Veltar standards, with pale blue skin that seemed almost transparent, and eyes that had faded to a soft gray. "Captain Morrison," the Elder said in a voice like wind through leaves, "I have lived for 800 of your years. I have seen the collective grow from 12 species to 63, but I have never seen anything like what your people bring." "What do we bring?" "Connection. True connection." Zephlin moved closer but still kept their eyes focused on the ground. "Do you know why the collective has not changed in 1,000 years?" War Chief Thakmor suggested it was because everyone is too afraid to trust each other completely. Wise words from a warrior. Yes, fear keeps us apart. But there is more. Zephlin paused by a fountain that made soft, musical sounds. "We cannot truly cooperate because we cannot truly communicate. But you have translation technology. You can all speak to each other. We can share words, yes. But words are only part of communication. The deeper part, the part that builds real trust and understanding, requires what you call eye contact. And that we cannot do." Jake began to understand. "You're saying the collective is stuck because you can only cooperate on the surface level." "Exactly. We have peace, but it is a cold peace. We trade resources and knowledge, but we do not share dreams or hopes or fears. We work together, but we do not truly trust." What would happen if that changed? Elder Zephlin was quiet for a long time. When they spoke, their voice was even softer than before. "Change is dangerous, Captain Morrison. There are species in the collective who profit from the current system, who have power because others are afraid. If beings learn to truly communicate, to really trust each other..." Zephlin trailed off. "The power structure would change. Everything would change, and change frightens many beings more than the current problems." That night, Jake's fears proved correct. Nina came running to his quarters with urgent news. "Jake, we have a problem, a big one." She led him to the communications center where Alex and Chris were monitoring alien broadcasts. "What's happening?" Jake asked. "A group called the Korthai are organizing resistance to human presence in the collective," Alex explained. "They're saying humans are a threat to the natural order." Chris pulled up translated messages on his screen. "Listen to this. The eye starers seek to destroy the harmony we have built. They will turn predator against prey, create chaos where we have peace. They must be removed before they corrupt our young." "How many species are supporting them?" Jake asked. "At least 12 that we know of," Nina said. "But the scary part is their plan. They're not just asking humans to leave. They want to make sure we can never come back." "What does that mean?" Alex's face was grim. "They want to destroy Earth's location records and make it illegal for any collective species to travel to human space. Complete isolation." Jake felt cold. If the Korthai succeeded, humanity would be cut off from the galaxy forever. All the knowledge, all the potential cooperation would be lost. "There's more," Nina continued. "Some of the resistance groups are talking about sabotage. They want to damage the station's systems and blame it on human technology being incompatible." "Can they do that?" "If they convince enough species that humans are dangerous, yes. The collective makes decisions by consensus. If enough species vote against us..." Jake understood. Democracy could work against them just as easily as for them. Captain Roy Mitchell contacted them from the human ship still in orbit. "Jake, we're picking up increased military activity around the station. Several species have moved warships into the system. Are we in immediate danger?" "Not yet, but if this situation gets worse, we might need to evacuate quickly." Jake looked around at his team. They had come so far and learned so much. The idea of losing it all now, just when they were beginning to understand how to help, was devastating. "We need allies," he said finally. "Species who see the benefit of what we offer." "Thakmor and his people will support us," Nina said, "and some of the younger Veltar seem interested in change. That's not enough. We need more than interest. We need beings willing to take risks for the chance of something better." Outside their window, the lights of the massive station continued to glow against the darkness of space. Somewhere in those corridors and chambers, the future of human-alien relations was being decided, and Jake wasn't sure which side was winning. The crisis came faster than anyone expected. Jake woke to alarms blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red in the corridors as he ran toward the command center. Admiral Kate Johnson had arrived during the night with a small fleet of human ships. She met Jake in the main communications room where chaos filled the screens. "What's the situation?" Jake asked. "The Korthai have made their move," Kate replied. "They've sabotaged 3 major systems on the station. Life support is failing in sections 7 through 12. They're blaming human technology for causing interference." Alex pointed to his monitoring station. "It's worse than that. They've convinced 15 species that we're the cause. Those species are demanding immediate human evacuation." Through the windows, Jake could see alien warships moving into defensive positions around the station. Some were there to protect, yet others looked ready to attack if humans didn't leave. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "The Collective Council meets in 6 hours," said Ambassador Kethra, who had just arrived looking exhausted. "They will vote on whether to expel humanity from collective space permanently." General Pete Davis, who had come with Admiral Johnson, studied the tactical displays. "Jake, we need to evacuate now. Those warships out there include some very hostile species. If the vote goes against us, they might decide to solve the problem by destroying our ships." "No," Jake said firmly. "We don't run, not when we're this close to something important." "Close to what? Getting killed? Close to proving that there's a better way?" Jake turned to address everyone in the room, humans and aliens alike. "I want to make a broadcast to the entire station. Can you get me on all communication channels?" "Jake, that's not a good idea," Kate warned. "Right now emotions are running high. Anything you say could make things worse. Or it could make things better." Jake looked around the room. Every species here evolved to avoid eye contact because it meant danger. But what if we could show them that eye contact can mean something else? Philosopher Merdoth, an ancient being who looked like a walking tree, spoke up. "What are you proposing, human?" "I'm proposing we stop hiding who we are. I want to speak directly to every being on this station, not through intermediaries, not through carefully worded diplomatic messages. Just honest communication. That could cause panic," Kethra warned, "or it could cause understanding." Thakmor entered the room with several other Razorkin warriors. The sabotage was meant to create fear and chaos. The Korthai want beings to be too frightened to think clearly. Perhaps it is time for courage instead of fear. "You'll support this?" Jake asked. "My warriors and I will stand with you, human. We are tired of pretending to be something we are not." Jake made his decision. "Set up the broadcast. I want every translation system active. Every screen, every speaker, every communication device on this station." An hour later, Jake stood in the main communication center. Cameras were focused on him from multiple angles. He could see his image appearing on screens throughout the station. In the background, the sounds of emergency repairs continued as teams worked to fix the sabotaged systems. "My name is Jake Morrison," he began, looking directly into the main camera. "I am a human, and I am speaking to every being on this station. I know many of you are afraid of my people. I know our behavior seems strange and threatening, but I want you to understand something." He paused, making sure his words were being translated properly. "When humans look at you, we are not showing aggression. We are not threatening you. We are trying to understand you. We are trying to connect with you." On screens throughout the station, Jake's eyes met the gaze of thousands of aliens. Some turned away immediately, but others found themselves unable to look away from this strange being who showed no fear. For millions of years, your species learned that eye contact meant danger, You are right to be cautious, but humans learned something different. We learned that looking at each other honestly was the only way to build real trust. In the communications center, Jake could see aliens gathering around screens. Some were clearly frightened, but others seemed curious. The beings who sabotaged this station want you to believe that humans will destroy your peace. But look at what is happening right now. Look at me speaking to you directly, honestly, without hidden meanings or political games. This is what humans offer. Not destruction, but real communication. Young members of various species began moving closer to the screens. Jake could see it happening through security cameras across the station. War Chief Thakmore of the Razorkin told me something important. He said your collective has peace but not progress. You cooperate but you do not truly trust. You work together, but you do not share dreams. Jake leaned forward, his voice becoming more intense. What if that could change? What if species could look at each other and see not predator or prey, but partners? What if the fear that has kept you apart could be replaced by understanding that brings you together? Alarms continued to sound in the background, but something was happening on the station. Aliens who had never made eye contact with each other were turning to look at their neighbors. It was small at first, just glances, but it was happening. I cannot promise this will be easy, Jake continued. Change is always difficult. But I can promise this. If you give humans a chance, if you give yourselves a chance, we can build something better than what exists now. The broadcast ended and the station fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Then, slowly, something remarkable began to happen. In corridors throughout the station, aliens began approaching the screens where Jake's image had appeared. They began talking to each other, not just with words, but with quick, tentative glances. Young beings were teaching older ones how to make brief eye contact safely. Kethra received a message on their communication device. Captain Morrison, the Collective Council wants to meet with you immediately. What's the vote count? There will be no vote. The Council has decided to create a new position, bridge species. Humans will help other species learn new forms of communication and cooperation. Through the windows, Jake could see the warships beginning to stand down. But more importantly, he could see something that had never happened before in collective space. On a docking platform visible from their window, a group of young aliens from different species were standing together in a circle, and they were looking at each other, really looking, as they talked and shared ideas. It's working, Nina whispered in amazement. Jake smiled as he watched the young beings discover what humans had known for thousands of years. That true understanding begins with the courage to really see each other. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed.